I don't know what to say. News is kind of fucked here in Australia. So everybody, if you haven't heard the news,
Every pun intended.
basically most news sites, the majors especially, have been ripped down on Facebook. Some of you might have logged into Facebook today or even late last night and seen a notification that looks something like this. The way you share news is changing. What do you mean it's changing? Like, it's pretty well damn gone. In response to the government legislation, Facebook restricts posting of news links from news pages in Australia. Globally, the posting and sharing of news links from Australia publications is restricted. And then you've got a big learn more button, call to action. So naturally, we click the button. So I'm just going to kind of go through this very organically and not filter out too much of my immediate thoughts. I haven't actually read this yet, so it'll be me interpreting what all this means and whether it might affect you. For most, it probably won't. Hopefully it doesn't. It's already affected some of my favorite brands here in Perth, so rest in peace. But anyway, let's go and learn what all this is about. So, why you can no longer share or see news on Facebook. Here we go. Let's start the one-sided argument. 14 million Australians connect on Facebook every day, blah, blah, blah. Proud of the role, Australian communities, we do this, we do that. Unfortunately, in response of Australia's proposed news media bargaining code legislation, which I think Google came to the table on just over $1 billion over a few years. Interesting. Facebook will have to restrict publishers and people in Australia from sharing or viewing Australian and international news content on Facebook. So essentially, if you own a business page, or any kind of page, Facebook page or public profile that is connected to news or media as a category, you're probably going to be affected by this. This discussion is focused on US technology companies and how they benefit from news content on their services. We understand many will ask why platforms may respond differently. The answer is because our platforms have fundamentally different relationships with news. Google search is inextricably intertwined with news, and publishers do not voluntarily provide their content. On the other hand, publishers willing to choose to post news on Facebook as it allows them to sell more subscriptions, grow their audiences, and increase advertising revenue. That I would agree with, right? If there's one thing that we can all agree on is that the shift from some of the major news networks, at least here in Australia, to things like YouTube, all you need to do is to watch one bloody news video on YouTube and all of a sudden you start getting recommendations from the next newest update from 9 News or whatever it ends up being, right? So I think I could definitely agree that these social platforms and the access it enables them outside of traditional media like TV, we could all agree that, these news networks have definitely benefited from. Now, in the essence of Facebook, I acknowledge I just talked about YouTube just now, but in Facebook, right, you make a choice to create a Facebook page. Why the hell would a news network make a Facebook page if they didn't intend to somehow monetize the effort and time they're paying someone and employees to further reach more people, stay in front of more people, perhaps sell more subscriptions, as Facebook stated there as well. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I would say that news networks benefit more from Facebook as opposed to the latter, okay? But anyway, I digress. Let's jump back to it. Last year, Facebook generated approximately 5.1 billion free referrals to Australian publishers worth an estimated nearly $500,000. Despite some of these discussions, Facebook does not steal, take, or copy news content. I guess I'll take your word for it. Scrolling along, the proposed law ignores these investments and the real value we provide to news organizations. The proposed law is written in a way that means we have to treat all publishers the same. If one publisher is out, it requires that all publishers must also be out, even if they're happy with the benefits they receive from Facebook. Oh, that sucks. I didn't realize that. That really sucks. Okay. The changes affecting news content, which constitutes less than 4% of content shared on Facebook. That I didn't know. I would have thought that the amount of news content shared on Facebook would have been a hell of a lot higher than 4%. But I guess, the algorithm is serving you content that you're most likely to engage with based on what you've already previously historically engaged with. So if you love all of those clickbaity headlines that say, oh my God, I can't believe this happened next, and then you click on a website and they're just sitting there buttering a Vegemite sandwich, which offers no value to the audience whatsoever, you're probably in that 4%. Restrict publishers and people in Australia from sharing or viewing Australian and international news content on Facebook. Didn't realize that it was also including international news. What the fuck are we going to bitch and moan about? Damn. Look, I think we could probably all agree that in the grand scheme of things, spending less time on social media isn't a bad thing, especially if you consume all your news on Facebook. You can go to other platforms to do that. I mean, you could go to YouTube, hell, you could go to the news site itself and consume your stuff if you so chose to. Personally, when I woke up this morning and saw this news about the news going away, I was kind of like, yay, no more clickbaity headlines. And then I realized I'm not going to be able to find out about the next chocolate dipped, raspberry swirled, sherbet snorting delicacy here in Perth via Urban List Perth. So I'm very upset about that. Rest in peace. But look, I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you think about this whole debacle, whether it's a good thing that news isn't available on Facebook anymore, whether you have speculations as to whether it would come back and why. Just let me know in the comments section below, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts soon. Talk to you later.